This episode is brought to you by Nordstrom. Summer's almost out and fall's calling. Luckily, Nordstrom has everything you need for the season ahead, all under $100. Discover new arrivals from your favorite brands like Mango, Princess Polly, Wave, Free People, BDG, and more. Whether you're planning a last-minute getaway, heading back to class, or refreshing your office looks, you'll find the latest trends and beauty must-haves without breaking your budget. It's easy, too, with free shipping, free returns, and in-store order pickup. Shop today, in stores, and at Nordstrom.com.
Are you feeling more fulfilled now that you're back to work?
This Friday.
No. I need a vacation.
See the movie that critics are saying is an awesome,
Look at that.
crowd-pleasing, fist-pumping, all-out brawl of a film.
You're right about that.
They're coming after our family. Go fix this.
Oh my.
Nobody 2. Rated R. Only in theaters Friday.
If you're a lineman in charge of keeping the lights on, Grainger understands that you go to great lengths and sometimes heights to ensure the power is always flowing, which is why you can count on Grainger for professional-grade products and next-day delivery, so you have everything you need to get the job done. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This week on Saucepans and Sidesteps, I am joined by House of Sport and Entertainment's Simon Kozlowski. He talks me through his company's investment in the Scarlets, how that deal is going to work, who is going to be involved in the day-to-day running of the region, and what he has learned from the experience so far. Let's start the show.
You're listening to Saucepans and Sidesteps.
Hello and welcome back to the Saucepans and Sidestep podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, Croeso. We are a fan-created podcast with the aim of giving Scarlets fans something to enjoy in between games. News, reviews, previews and interviews, analysis, vlogs and community game updates from right across West Wales. Before we get into the main body of the podcast this evening, we just wanted to send a message of support to WRU CEO Abby Tierney following the news of her cancer diagnosis. Even in this difficult time, it's a reminder that sometimes there are things even bigger than rugby. All the best to her on her road to recovery. This evening, I am joined by someone from a new company who, at this critical time in Welsh rugby, are making an investment into the Scarlets that they say will secure the future of the region long term. I am joined by House of Luxury's Simon Kozlowski. Good evening, Simon. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, Hugh. Very good to be here. Thank you for having me on. And hello to all your viewers.
Our pleasure. Thank you so much. So, lots to talk about. This evening, we should be talking about the who, what, when, where, and why of House of Luxury and their investment into the Scarlets. But question number one, at this time, when you've come in and you've made a big splash on your arrival, can you understand why there is a sense of trepidation and apprehension around not just the Scarlets, but the whole of Welsh rugby?
So the first thing I'll say is that my sense of humor is an acquired taste. And I was going to crack a joke in response, but I've been lectured and reprimanded and hauled through the Academy of Hard Knocks here. So I will say in very measured and restrained terms that I'm very well aware of what the Welsh community, the rugby supporting community has been through over the last as many as 20 years, actually, 22 years. And am no stranger to the controversy, to the drama, ever increasingly schooled in the dynamics of Welsh rugby, Welsh culture, and everything around it.
A very, very measured answer. Thank you. So let's start with the who. Who are, in your words, House of Luxury?
So because you are representing Inner Circle Scarlets fans, I'm going to tell you that the line we're drawing, so I'll start with the end in mind here, and then I'll reverse engineer my answer, but we are moving House of Luxury as a brand out of the spotlight here. The division of House of Luxury that is doing this investment is House of Sports and Entertainment, which is a division of House of Luxury. House of Luxury is for want of a better word, we don't use this word. It's a bad word in our circles, but it's a brokerage. And essentially what we do is we represent high net worth individuals and ultra high net worth individuals who are selling luxury assets. Could be anything from a chateau in France to a 5-star hotel in London, a jet, a car, a supercar, those sort of things. And then we move that off market privately. So there's no, typically somebody would advertise that in the tabloids and the press to get as much attention. We work through discrete networks and private rooms and conversations that most people don't even know exist. That's our world. And I will say to you that coming into this, I'm just going to be vulnerable with you. Coming into this, we had underestimated how big the chasm is between what we do and how we move in silence and this very public and volatile space where most people don't understand our business. So you'll notice, and I'm just going to run an extra yard here. You'll notice in the article that was put out today where I'm talking about why I think Scarlets is the right choice in terms of going down to 2 teams and the right choice in the West. I talk about one of the statements I made is that we've sold at least 10 football clubs. A little bit of a misquote. I mean, it was supposed to say 10 sports clubs because not all of them are English football clubs. But that's the world that we move in. So when somebody says to us, okay, give us a list of the 10 clubs, well, that's not how we work because the discretion of our clients is of the utmost importance. So in all honesty and vulnerability, it was a bit of a miscommunication. And to the journalist, to Steph, who I think the world of, and I've got a great respect for him. But we typically don't use numbers like that. We don't say things like that. I was, giving context for the answer, where does the money come from? And so now I've created another social media storm of people going, well, what are the names of these clubs? Prove your worth. And we're never going to do that. That's as egotistical a response as you're ever going to get out of us. And it was a bit of an egotistical response in my slightly triggered response to everything that's been going on in the media.
Understandable. So you've been vulnerable with me there, and you've given your own personal account of what's happened. So if I invite you to share a bit more with us, if you could tell us about yourself. Who is Simon Kozlowski? Where do you come from? What is your background? If you could just briefly talk us through not only the business side, but maybe share a little bit of your personal story as well.
Given how I've been received by the media in general, not the media, let me say, given those masquerading as Scarlets fans in the most acidic platform, let me put it like that, which is where I hang out most. In light of that, I'll probably be a little guarded, unusually guarded, in terms of how much I bring from a personal perspective. But from a career perspective, I have had many different. My CV looks a bit like a Jackson Pollock painting with lots of splashes against the canvas. And I have moved between being a director at a global advertising agency. I've run multiple innovation consultancies and from digital transformation, business model innovation, been a copywriter for marketing and direct response marketing. And then I've also done the sort of 7 to 10 years of trying to find myself, where I did everything from recruitment, labor outsourcing, selling dinnerware and cookware door to door. It's a broad spread. And born and raised in South Africa, love it here. That's pretty much me in a little diminutive coconut shell.
Well, at least, yeah, when we make the next long trip to Durban to play against the Sharks, you'll have a much shorter journey than our wonderful fans who spend a lot of money going to support our club overseas.
I was
So,
at the last game in Durban. I hung out with the chairman of the board at the last Scarlets game. We had been having conversations as far back as then. And yeah, I'm going to be there for the next Scarlets game.
so that was one of the questions that I've been asked to ask. I made it known to a small number of people that I was having this chat, and one thing that everybody asked me to ask was, when did this adventure begin? Who reached out to who? And is around about when the Scarlets were down in Durban a fair answer to that question?
A little bit before that, maybe a few months before that, a month or two before that. So it's been a slow brew. We obviously have to go through the various levels of phases and stages of conversation, and Welsh rugby moves staggeringly slow for our liking, and so we like to do deals fast. We like to get our hands dirty and find that rather than do the slow due diligence, we find the data in real time while we're working elbows deep. So this was a little bit of a departure from the norm for us, and an education in that for sure.
Interesting. So before we go on to talk about the nature of your deal with the Scarlets a little bit more, something that a lot of people have said is, who are these guys? What do they know about rugby? But if we look at the Scarlets' announcement as to who was going to be involved in this, there, of course, are people who do have history in rugby. Now, I'm not going to ask you to talk about David Moffat. I think that's been covered extensively, and you've already given the answer that he will not be involved in the day-to-day running of the Scarlets. I also won't ask you about Dan Biggar because, again, you've already communicated that he's an ambassador for House of Luxury or House of Sports and Entertainment and will not be running the Scarlets. But some other names that I would like you to talk about would be the two of the other people that were appointed to the boards. The guy who had been previously in education, I think, around sports and business, and a digital marketer from New Zealand Rugby. Can you tell me a bit about those two people?
So I'm not going to speak at length about them. You can reach out to them and they can speak for themselves. They are highly credentialed. Andy Golding is just very, very astute when it comes to the business models of sport. It's what he has majored in his academics, but he has done lots of consulting in that space and has moved through lots of different verticals. And then Leanne Betts is really, I'll give you the 2 or 3 highlights of her career. So she was involved in a digital transformation Web3 type project with FC Barcelona, and then took that same concept across to New Zealand Rugby and worked with them. And now she does similar work and will be doing that kind of digital, the marrying of fan experience and digital engagement and digital transformation in the rugby context, and beyond, because we're not just a rugby company, we are a sports company that transcends rugby.
Fascinating. Thank you. So moving on to from the who to the what. What is your deal with the Scarlets? It's been described in a lot of the mainstream press as a takeover. However, I've had it described to me as a partnership. Is a partnership, you think, a fairer description of it at this time?
I'll give it to you in simple terms. Right now, it is a management contract where we are coming in and running the day-to-day management of the club. The thinking behind that is, as I said before, it's how we do due diligence. We know what things are worth and what needs to be fixed. And the way we look at investments is we go, by the time we acquire equity, and I'm going to just put a pin in that and say, acquiring equity and putting money into the club are two different entities here, because I'll get to that without breaching confidentiality. Obviously, there are things that I'm bound by, and this is going to travel. But essentially, we are taking over the liabilities of the club in the short term, covering some costs, adding some value in terms of personnel, whether that's on the field or off the field. And then we are elbows deep as well, getting to terms with the systems and processes and what needs to be improved there. While we wait for a PRA to magically emerge from the ether.
Okay, so that was obviously one of the main questions, one of the main things that's talking about, and this is something that's going to come up in our conversation again, is everyone on social media turns into a sleuth, a private investigator, when things like this come up, as I'm sure you will have noticed. One of the things that everybody's talking about is, do the WRU need to approve this deal? Now, I'm going to give you my interpretation. You can tell me if I'm right or wrong. The management contract, I would assume that the WRU do not need to approve or get involved in. And then when you take equity, they would need to give the thumbs up for that. Is that correct?
So the official statement, which was in the article that came out today, is along the lines of, of course, we think that it is beneficial that we work alongside the WRU. And when it comes to acquiring equity, we will definitely be having conversations with them.
Okay, thank you. So, as you said, you've been working on this deal for a little while, and I'm sure, being creative people, intelligent people, you will already have some ideas in the pipeline. So, what can we expect to see change in the short term at the Scarlets?
I'm just wondering what so we're already doing the behind the scenes work. I'm just trying to forecast what the first fruits are that people might notice, because there are things that are happening already that would have been seen but not understood as evidence of certain things. So cryptic, but without, I've got to be so careful here. If you knew how many Hard Knocks lessons and how bruised my knuckles are from being wrapped, you will forgive me for being very guarded. But the areas that we want to supercharge are definitely in the side of commercial marketing, social media, and basically the presentation of brand and brand value is really where we're going to. So you should see some more sponsorships. You should see some different types of sponsorship packages. You should see some more divergent social media content and some differentiated style and broader style. Having our players and different people at the club start to build their own personal brands within the club. That's definitely some of the earlier stuff that you'll see.
That's exciting. I'm looking forward to that, definitely. When you said bringing value on and off the pitch with different personnel, the fan brain inside me thinks, ooh, signings. And you alluded on social media too that you would expect more signings to happen. Can we expect any signings incoming at the Scarlets anytime soon?
Yeah, I mean, the way that I answered this to, I don't even know who it was to anymore. Recruitment, our philosophy around recruitment is an ongoing process. You should always be recruiting. So some of those recruitments are going to be short term, and they're going to move through the phases pretty quickly, depending on where other people are. Some of them are more the dating game, where you've got to keep swiping right, keep sending heart and flower emojis, and maybe a few dollar emojis, and hope that people reciprocate. Somebody commented about, just as a side note, somebody commented about the why didn't we invest in other clubs? And my quirky answer was, it's like a marriage proposal. One person proposes and one person accepts. When it comes to recruitment, it's the same thing. You put out a value proposition, you communicate the value of the brand, of the business, what the person can expect from as return on their investment with the club. And some people say yes, and some people say, no, I'm looking for somebody who's slightly taller, bigger shoulders, better hairstyle, that kind of stuff.
Well, I can assure you that Scarlets players are all the most handsome going around.
I have noticed it's you just have to put them on the field with the Sharks players, and it quickly becomes evident that they're a model-esque bunch.
I couldn't agree more. So the when you've answered a lot of my questions about the when already in terms of when do you start work, you already have. When do we start to see change? We will start to see changes soon in the forms of the digital and things. I know that you'll be bound by some discretionary agreements here, but what's the timeline going to look like? So you're currently in your management contract, and you alluded to the fact that it will depend on what the agreement ends up being with how many regions we have going forward, when you will take equity and things. In your interviews so far, you've alluded to how you like to get in when there's chaos, and then when chaos settles down, you like to get out. So do you have in your mind a situation of how long you intend to be with the Scarlets?
So let me just correct your statement there, because it wasn't an accurate representation of what I said. I said we like to get in. We are attracted to blood in the streets. So that will be your chaos statement. And I said we tend to get in when everyone else is getting out, and we tend to get out when everyone's getting in. I didn't say we get out when the chaos settles down, because that would just mean we are delinquents that just love chaos and we don't have an appetite for structure. When actually what we're doing is we're bringing structure, we're bringing systems. We want this thing to whistle. I don't want to have to go to bed at 3 a.m. for the next 6 months. So the answer is we actually, in terms of this strategy of investment, or what we're doing here, is we're looking to build long-term value. So if you were talking from an investor perspective, we're not trading. We are taking a Warren Buffett buy and hold and let value appreciate over decades and generations approach. And our philosophy is, I've said this before in other places, but our philosophy is very much about going beyond the rugby and transcending the rugby and actually enhancing the business ecosystem around the club. And so to do that takes time, and to get return on that investment and effort takes a little while too.
So, okay. So you've said in another interview that the Scarlets, the annual turnover of your company has something like a four times greater than the Scarlets' annual budget. Is that right? Around that figure?
What I said was that our quarterly profit is 5 times Scarlet's operating budget. So the answer to your question as to where the money's coming from is from our profits. That's where companies typically invest from. Now, we can get lines of credit and all those things. The reality is nobody would give a line of credit on Scarlets. I don't think anyone would get a line of credit on Welsh rugby, full stop. So it's coming from our profits.
Okay, and where do you initially see that money going? So you've already answered about the marketing and things like that. In the statement that was announced on the Scarlets website, it also talked about things like player pathways, infrastructure, and job creation, which of course is something that gets a lot of people's attention. So how do you see creating jobs at Parker Scarlets in the Llanelli area in West Wales through the Scarlets?
So I don't want to give you my whole playbook here. I could, because I don't think anybody really has the ability or the interest to execute on it, because the things I've already said are so far beyond most people's comprehension, the vast majority. So when I give the real secret recipes, people are just going to dismiss it.
You've got very intellectual people listen to this podcast, Simon.
I don't doubt that. What their capacity for innovation might be slightly different to ours. Just based on where you stand determines what you see. And if you're standing firmly in Welsh rugby looking out, you might have a slightly different view from ours looking in. So I say that with great respect to your very intellectual listeners and viewers. the simple answer here is turning cost centers into profit centers. I'm a one-trick pony when it comes to that. So let me give you an example. There are a few thousand seats to be cleaned at the stadium. We currently have 3 people cleaning those seats. 3 people cleaning those seats takes a long time and impacts the customer experience. So it is more effective and profitable to acquire a cleaning company, have a professional cleaning company clean those seats in less time, and then brand that company as an alliance to Scarlets and sell those cleaning services to the surrounding community at competitive prices, and thereby the community pays to clean our seats while the community gets cleaning value from affordable cleaning services. That's how we create jobs. That's how we create shared value for the whole community. And we have at least 21 of those types of strategies for just in that specific turning cost centers into profit centers for Scarlets and for the other clubs that we work with.
It's a very interesting example. Thank you for sharing it. In your interview earlier as well, you were asked about pathways and talent coming through. And something that was alluded to again in the initial statement was that pathways would be part of this investment. You said in the interview that there's obviously lots of good work going on. We've interviewed Scott Stenton a couple of times, who's the head of the academy with the Scarlets, and we've interviewed other coaches as well. How would you describe how you are adding value to that pathway and to getting the talent and the rugby people around West Wales coming through the Scarlets pathway? Is it a kind of, how much money do you need? Okay, here's the check. Or is it a bit more involved from that?
So I'll tell you in all honesty that as we move through the phases, the talent pathway and community phases are, 3rd or 4th tier areas of attention. And so when I say 3rd or 4th tier, I don't mean in terms of importance. I just mean in terms of the sequential phases that we move through. So the commercial and the marketing sides of the business, and we're supercharging them and giving more energy and attention to those. And then from there, we move to the 3rd phase, and then the 4th phase, which would be in the realm of lower but grassroots talent development and all of those sort of things. And we haven't even really got enough data to inform our strategy there. So yes, there's going to be money, obviously, because you need money for these things. But it's more than that. It's about partnership development. It's about, we got to start with figuring out what is actually happening, because we don't really have a good handle on that yet. This is part of our due diligence process. From there, we got to figure out what's working great and where are their challenges and where can we lend some support to overcoming those challenges. And then from there, it's like, okay, how do we take this refined model now and just like supercharge it and dial up the impact and the results. So that's like, as fast as we get there. Whatever that looks like when we get there will be as interesting for me as it will be for you.
Okay. When you guys came in, something that got spoken about a lot was your network. So we've spoken about the money. Now I'd like to just understand the network a little bit. So my assumption is that you being people who do not refer to themselves as brokers, you go around and you sell things, you acquire things for rich people and sell things to rich people. So then my assumption is that you have a network of rich people in your phone book who you can ring up and say, hey, how would you like some action with this team in West Wales called the Scarlets that we think are really cool? Is that a fair description?
Not even close. No, that's like, let me be brutally honest here. Since we have been public with this, our stay behind closed doors clients have, and it's why I started with the House of Sports and Entertainment. Our clients are not excited about us getting into this space, and so we have to separate these two businesses out. They want nothing to do with the Scarlets. They want nothing to do with our community investment. Those are two completely separate businesses, and we are only putting in our own money, our own profits. There's no hustling or running investment Ponzi scheme, whatever that turns into in terms of media interpretation. There's none of that going on. This is we do great deals. And let me just be clear: we don't buy anything and then sell it. We're not Gary Vaynerchuk garage salesman on a higher level. We facilitate the moving of assets between those who want to divest from them, which is a big fancy word for saying want to sell them, and those who want to acquire them. And we help the assets move from those who don't want them anymore to those who want them. We get paid for doing that discreetly and effectively without anybody knowing who these people are, because they don't want to experience what we've had to experience in the last couple of days, and that damages their value and their worth. And so the short answer here is that there is no correlation between the two. What we're doing here and what we do there are unrelated, and we will continue, and I know this is going to be broadly accessible, but we will continue to move that business out of the spotlight and remove it from this ecosystem. So House of Sports and Entertainment is going to be the front and center brand, and a year from now, hopefully nobody even remembers that we sell luxury assets.
Okay, that's very interesting. Thank you. So on to the why then. So this is something I hope you'll find it a little bit more exciting to talk about. Is you've spoken about how the Scarlets are an exciting brand, a very strong brand. Could you define what that means for us? What makes our club so strong as a brand, in your opinion?
Well, it's a rich brand and it has a rich heritage. Right now, I don't think it's a strong brand. A brand is an idea that people hold in their mind when they think of something. So just for those who are not schooled in branding, the concept of a brand, if you think about Coca-Cola, you would have a set of perceptions. You would think of touch, taste, sight, all of these various things. So you know what Coke looks like. When I say Coke, you'll see an image of either a Coke bottle or a Coke can, depending on what you've seen. You might see some advertising. You might hear a jingle. You might associate the sound of a can opening and hear that. And you might even associate that with the fizz of the bubbles on your tongue. In terms of Scarlets as a brand, there's definitely a lot of room to strengthen those associations across the senses, which is the job to be done. In terms of why we looked at it as a brand that we were excited about is because we heard the stories that people were telling about the brand. Look, in all reality, and I'm just a tell it straight guy, if the at the risk of being lynched by the mob here, if your biggest brand narrative of why you are so powerful is that you beat the All Blacks in 1972, which is before I was born, and I'm assuming it's before you were born, there's probably room for some brand storytelling, some updated brand storytelling. And so I've come to terms with some of the stories of the brand, but our excitement for the brand is probably about as much as what we can do with the brand and bring to the brand. And when we talk about branding and enhancing the story of the brand, we're very big on brand and story. What we're talking about is not creating some hoopla that doesn't exist and think car sale sleazy car salesman with the shiny gold tooth who's telling you about this photoshopped car. We're not doing that. What we're doing is we're plugging the existing brand into an amplifier and turning it up from a 1 or a 2 to maybe a 7 or an 8, depending on how big your speakers are. Apologies to those who already chastised me for talking in too many metaphors, but that's what we do. We will take the elements of brand and the science of brand, and we will work through the different aspects of sight, sound, touch, taste, and have stronger associations across all of those dimensions. What you hear, what you see, what you taste, what you touch, what you experience, how your heart rate responds when you hear about the brand or encounter the brand. Those are the things we're going to be working on.
Interesting. Thank you. Thank you for that answer. So, with an eye on the time, I would like for my final question to be, with the, and I use the word very deliberately, fear that is rife throughout Welsh rugby at the moment, and the nervousness, the paranoia that you've witnessed firsthand since coming in, what message would you like to give to Scarlets fans in the midst of this hyper uncertainty? Because the wording that was used in the statement was that this deal brings financial certainty and stability to the brand. So what is your message to back that up and help Scarlets fans sleep a little bit more easily in their beds tonight?
Well, I got bad news for you. I'm not going to placate you or your viewers and give them a maternal stroke of the hair and say it's okay, shh, it's going to be okay. What I'm going to say to you is that if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. The only certainty is that if you're not moving forward, you are moving backwards. There is no middle ground. You create your own certainty. You create your own certainty by taking risks, making mistakes, going on an experiential learning journey called life, and stepping out onto creaking limbs and taking chances and testing and getting feedback from the real world, and then going, when I do this thing 3 times and get a consistent result, that I can be certain of. If I want that result, let me keep doing that thing for a while until the ecosystem changes, or let me be certain that I don't want that result and I need to do something else to not get that result. So we're not selling certainty here. We're selling adventure. We're selling exhilaration. We are selling survival and sustainability. And that means leaving behind all of the narratives that you've had about what rugby was and what rugby is, and embracing new narratives of what rugby could be and who I need to become in order to embody that new reality. What I need to become talks about the people, the teams, the organization. So I offer your viewers no certainty other than this ecosystem. And I know I'm getting chastised for using that word too. Don't care. It's my language. The reality here is that everybody keeps doing the same stuff and expecting the same results. And we're watching the union do that now. And I can tell you that the only certainty is if they do those things again, you will get more of what you got. If everybody here does more of what we've done in the past, we're going to get more. So we're not here to bring certainty. We're here to bring difference. We're here to bring innovation. We're here to bring experimentation. We're here to bring, and we will do all of these things respectfully, with love in our hearts and commitment to sustainability and community prosperity. But we're the ones who have to roll up our sleeves and do hard things that other people think are stupid, are irrational. And that's why we talk the way we do, because we've done different things and we've got different results to the norm. You don't achieve what we've achieved, and it's going to sound arrogant, but you don't achieve what we've achieved by doing what everybody else does. if we want other people to bring people along with us in experiencing some of the success that we get to enjoy, you're going to have to do crazy different things. So no certainty on offer here, just wild, blow your hair back and make your heart beat 3 times faster adventure. That's all I got to offer.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Simon, thank you for spending some time with me this evening. I very much appreciate you taking the time to speak to us, and I look forward to hearing more of the news. I look forward to seeing the first fruits of your labour, and hopefully speaking again maybe in 12 months' time, where we'll all be a little bit less stressed.
Amen to that. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everybody who stayed this long in the video, and thanks for being a supporter. I really appreciate that. We're going to need all the support we can get.
Thank you. If people have visited us for the first time over here on Saucepans and Sidesteps, please consider subscribing to the channel and supporting us and helping us grow the platform. We are Scarlets fans doing this for fun, and we hope that we can help you have a little bit more fun too. So thank you, and we'll catch you next time.
That was Saucepans and Sidesteps. Please rate, review and share on socials if you can, and join us again next week for more of the same. And until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Lowe's knows when you're looking for reliability, the right brand makes all the difference. And now, Lowe's is the exclusive home improvement retailer for the Whirlpool water treatment line, including their Wi-Fi softener, under-sink filtration system, and more. With Whirlpool's proven performance and our everyday low prices, better tasting, better quality water is within reach. Shop pro-trusted brands like Whirlpool and more, in-store or online. Lowe's, we help, you save.